I spoke briefly about new services, projects that get created that we need to manage and control in our production environment. I'm going to take a look at a new project that's going to implement a new business function and how project management can be involved with the maintaining or keeping the CMDB up to date. Typically, before a project begins, we would hope that we have a well-defined CMDB and everything should be up to date. Let's make that assumption. I know that everybody is probably laughing at this. However, let's make that assumption. During the project initiation, the project team has to work with the IT service management organization to ensure that we understand exactly what the project is doing and how those CIs or assets that the project will be developing, creating, putting into production, and we need to make sure that we understand how they're related to these existing CIs in our CMDB. So as the project begins, the project team will acquire certain CIs that we want under control. These CIs will obviously have relationships between each other. The project team will have very little understanding about the relationship between these CIs and what's in the IT infrastructure unless they're working within the IT department. And in this scenario, we're talking about a project that's outside of the scope of the IT infrastructure. So it could be a new SAP application, it could be a new PeopleSoft application, something that the business unit is developing, and they're going to essentially hand it over to IT to manage. Well, this is a challenge, and this is where our CMDB usually starts to fall apart. What we need to do during the project is integrate the project management team along with the IT service management team so that we can start to build this project CMDB, if we can call it that, and then take this project CMDB and incorporate it into the live production CMDB. Now, these administrators can come from various different functions. They could come from the IT organization, they can also come from the business, but typically, because configuration management is a IT concept, remember, when we talk about configuration management, we're talking about the ITIL definition of configuration management. We may want to take a configuration administrator or a librarian to administer these CIs for the project team. This can become very handy to help the project team in ensuring that when this project is put into production, there will be minimal impact to the IT infrastructure. During the development of the project, what we'll start seeing is some of the interrelationships, the linkages between the project CMDB and the production CMDB. And this will help us to identify single points of failure, some resilience, redundancy, capacity issues. There are all sorts of opportunities to help us in improving our services and also ensuring that the project, once it's put into production, is successful. And if we can do this during the project, then clearly, once the project is implemented and in production, all of the relationships, the attributes, are all under control, and we don't have to try to figure it out after the project team hands it over to us. As you can see, it's not that difficult from a conceptual basis. Practically speaking, it requires a lot of coordination. And that's why we find that our CMDB typically gets out of date because of this lack of communication between the business, project teams, and the IT organizations. And this is just a summary of the evolution of the CMDB during a new project.